Oye, Kuyos! We're here to talk about the Expanse. Sasuke! Sasuke for the belt!
Beltalowda! Beltalowda! Beltalowda!
Anyway, hello.
Wow.
We're here to talk about The Expanse, Season 6, Episode 4, Redoubt. I'm joined here by some special guests that may throw me out the airlock if I don't perform correctly. First joining me is, as always, my co-host Darrin from these reviews. Darrin, thanks so much for joining.
Oh, Mark, back again this week. Really excited, man. This season really is killing it. There is something every episode that I can't wait to talk about. So, yeah, let us get going. Let's get going.
All right. And joining us for the first time this year, thanks so much for joining, Rob from Smirking Reviews. Rob's great to have you.
Yeah, I haven't been covering this since episode 2, so it's nice to be able to sit and talk about the last 2 episodes with somebody.
Cool. Oh, so you haven't covered the past couple episodes?
Nope. I just watched episode 3 and 4 the first time today, and I rewatched episode 4 about an hour ago.
Oh, really? Okay. Cool. So before we get into it, I want to read Alyssa's thoughts on the episode because she was unable to join us this week celebrating the new year, but she left some thoughts on the episode, so I'll just read those quickly and get your reactions to that. So quoting her, easily my least favorite episode of the season. It was a 7 out of 10 for me. As a non-book reader, I don't give an F about Admiral What's-His-Name. Also, I read that scene as that dude being a terrible person who cares only about himself and was saying really weird, creepy things to a poor little girl in mourning. Like, I didn't read it as even remotely touching. Horrifying would be the better word. I fear for that girl. But I suppose that does set up for his character, and yes, I did catch that he was in charge. The Rosnate scenes were a step down for me. They were fine, but not as interesting. My favorite would probably be the Holden Clarissa exchange. Agree on the Philip scene, a waste of time. Also, I agree Marco is a really bad leader. Like the Monica Alva Cirella scenes, and I agree with you on those. I like the drummer scenes too, but I didn't think of Damar. To me, what really made the Damar scene great was that it was coming out. It was his coming out party that no one knew what he was doing before he made this dramatic announcement. So to me, it's not in the same league, but don't get me wrong, it was still a great scene. So anyway, if you didn't catch the Damar reference, you might be a bit confused. It's referring to, because this is the comments I made in my review for this episode, it's referring to a scene at the end of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I don't know if you're familiar, but this Cardassian Damar came out and made this huge speech that he was rebelling against the Dominion. It was a huge deal because he was like the Dominion's biggest ally. He was forming a resistance against them. And I compared Drummer's little speech to that. But I stand by my comparison, even though we know, like with Damar, it was surprising, like you didn't know he was against the Dominion and you knew that Drummer was against Marco, but she was, as far as you knew and as far as Marco knew, she was on the run and just was like running away and posing no threat. But here she like strikes back against him, so it is letting him know that, hey, I did this to you and fuck you. And we'll get more into the specifics on that later. But anyway, do you guys have any thoughts on what Alyssa said?
Yes, no. Got to agree. And sure, all right. I think there's actually quite a few of those that I think that we'll get into. You know, again, I tend to agree with Alyssa on a lot of these points, though I got a lot more out of some of the drummer stuff than maybe what she's bringing up there. So
I think for the most part, I'm right alongside her. For the most part, yeah. There's a lot of different, like, that's a fast way of saying some like more like in-depth things I can tell.
Okay.
But so like right now, surface level, I agree with a lot of what she said.
Right. So, Rob, I guess we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on this episode? Like, what did you think of it?
I've enjoyed every episode so far this season, but this going into this was like one of the most predictable episodes I've ever seen. The consequences of last episode going into what we're setting up for the end, it all really was like beat for beat for beat. I was calling out everything that happened, what was going to happen, in what way. And even though that all those things happened, it didn't take away from my enjoyment of it. And my issue, I mean, with this whole thing, and it's, I mean, it's too late to stop it, right? This is the end for the series, at least. 6 episodes just is not enough for what they're doing here. I don't know what's going on with the beginning part of these episodes. I don't know. I mean, I have my theories on what's going on, but I have no idea where they're going with it. Is this something that they're setting up for the future? Mixed in with like a really tight story that I kind of wished would have ended last season. I feel like this whole story is like it's this thing that happens in the middle where it's like we have to deal with this before we can do a whole bunch of other things. I feel like this is like this belter story that has to happen. But it's ending the series, and I'm just a little disappointed that this is the story that we're still going with to end out our show. That being said, I mean, like I said, they're not. This is it. This is all we get. I am enjoying it, but this was really predictable.
Right. Interesting. So Darrin, your thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see where Rob's coming from there. And, you know, in a way, if we're looking at kind of a 3-act story, this is the second part of the second act after the climax, the big exchange between Marco and the Rocinante. It's what happens afterwards before we move into our big, you know, third act, engagement and resolution. So, yeah, in stories, these tend to be the more predictable kind of route. You've got to see the fallback. We were even talking last week about Holden's decision. We suspected that would come out this week, and that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, you've got to see how these chips laid out. On the other hand, having done a lot of Netflix and streaming shows or trying to do this past couple of weeks, I am still engaged by the dialogue, the acting, and the pace and storyline for a show that's predictable versus a lot of the horrible other stuff that is out there. So I will still take this over almost anything else out there right now.
Oh yeah. It doesn't take away from the enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
It's just I've seen it all done before.
Speaking of which, Darrin, I just watched The Matrix Resurrections last night.
I still have the third act to watch. We took a break, and Rob and I had a quick little chat about that the other day. So.
I've seen it twice.
Oh, really? Is that because you liked it, Rob?
Yep.
Oh wow! Okay, I won't say anything. I was
no. This movie is getting all kinds of. There's all kinds of opinions on it.
Well, no. To be fair, I'm getting sidetracked now. But to be fair, like I'm lukewarm one. Like parts of it I liked, parts of it I didn't like. I didn't think the whole thing sucked, but the parts I didn't like, I really didn't like.
Hey, it's gotten people talking about the Matrix again. So ultimately, has it done its job? And do we know there's probably future movies coming? There, it's done its work.
All right, so let's get back to Expanse. So with this, it's interesting that Alyssa said that this was her least favorite of the season. Would you guys concur with that? Would you call this your least favorite episode of the season?
Maybe, but that's just because there's been so many I've really liked all the other episodes. So, if it's on the bottom, it's only because there's just a lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff. Yeah, because it's funny because my first impression of the episode was like this was my least favorite episode. But when I went to record my review for it and I started talking about it, I started thinking about it, I started analyzing it, I was like, actually, there's a lot of stuff this episode that I really loved. The only stuff that really bothered me was the Philip stuff, which I thought dragged on for way too long. It was mostly unnecessary. But all the other stuff I thought was great. So I would actually say this is probably better than the first episode for me. The first episode of the season.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, from a setup wise, it feels very much like the first episode because that was the setup for kind of your beginning half. This is sort of that payoff of the climax, and so it's now setting up the next position. So I think it is kind of very much in that same feel and manner.
Yeah, and Alex 409 in the chat agrees, saying that I'd rank this episode higher than the premiere. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And it's funny because one of my Patreon supporters, Norman Buckwell, sent me a message after this episode aired, and I was like, "Oh, this is my favorite episode of the season, 10 out of 10." I'm like, "Really? I don't know." I kind of like the last two episodes better, but it was still good. Like, I think I gave it a 9 out of 10, so I still. So I still loved a lot of the stuff that wasn't the Philip stuff. But anyway,
we could just skip the Marco Phillips stuff entirely.
Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this, and let's start with the opening scene, Laconia, as we always do. That little short story that we get in little blips, little pieces at the start of each episode. I was really book nerding out on this one because they introduced a character who is, I would say, probably the best villain in the book series, who is very, very important for books 7, 8, and 9. And I didn't think we'd get him. And I thought they'd wait until they actually did book 7, 8, and 9. But in the short story, he did appear in the scene. And try. So it's the leader of Laconia, Duarte, Admiral Duarte. And as soon as he said his name, I was like, "Oh, it's Duarte!" I was so nerding out about that. But of course, that's probably, like Alyssa said, that she didn't give an F about him, which I think if I not read the books, I might have had the same reaction. But and also she mentioned that she felt he was really creepy towards the girl. I didn't really read it like that, but I will say in the short story, he was a lot more nicer. He more was consoling her about the loss of her brother, where here it felt like he was being a bit egotistical. It's like, "Oh, this is like me losing Mars." I'm like, not really. And trying to make an analogy. But I think that was the show trying to develop his character more and set up the kind of mindset he has. And I think there is a dark undercurrent, especially if you read the books and you know the dark shit that this guy is going to get up to in the future, of him saying, "I want to keep everyone safe." But that really perfectly but when I said I thought the scene was a bit touching, I think it was when the young girl sort of reached out to him and held his hand and said, "Keep trying to keep us safe." Like something about that. I was like, "Oh, that's sweet." But then we also get a cameo from Kotazar, good old Kotazar, who appeared all the way back in season 2, talking about, I think it's just a vague reference to finally getting the proto-molecule shit working. Anyway, Rob, let's start with you. And if you want to give us your thoughts on the scene and your maybe overall thoughts on this whole storyline on Laconia, since this is the first time you're joining us.
Well, since I haven't read any of the books past the first couple hundred pages of the first one, I had no idea what was going on at first. I still really don't know what's going on, other than I don't even know if this is accurate. Any thought is accurate. I'm trying to piece it together as where does this fit in what's going on right now? And all I can think is this has to be in the future, and it has to probably do to some of the people that went through the red-looking gates. That's all I know. That's all I don't know. That's all I see something that makes me say that. And then on this planet, there's these creatures that can apparently heal things or bring things back from the dead. And it gave me some real, like, there was some vibes I got from it, but I can't quite remember what it was reminding me of. But it was reminding me of something very familiar. But I don't, all I know is like, is this supposed to be something that is a future story that we're just setting up? It's going to pay off at the end of this season, springboarding off the end of this season into the future, which would presumably be movies.
Well, I can definitively answer that for you if you like. So this is not in the future. It's set at the same time, but it's so at the end of season 5, the Splinter Martian group that teamed up with Marco went through the gate. They went to this plan to establish a colony that had this protomolecule shipyards in orbit, which is what we see occasionally. So, and they stole, Fred Johnson's protomolecule sample. So they're using that to sort of fuck with the shipyards and try to get their protomolecule technology going. But it's kind of implied what they're doing is related to the dogs that the girl is seeing.
Okay.
And it's not going to have anything to do with Holden this season. I will tell you that. That's mainly setting up for a potential book 7, 8, and 9 to be adapted. That it will really come into play for those. And in fact, the showrunner he confirmed that part of the reason why he put this in the season is because they want that connection to the future stuff, which they still really want to do.
We're going to make the audience beg you for it, and you'll have to make the movies, damn it.
And Alex409 points out what I was thinking when Rob was saying reminded him of something. He puts forward Pet Cemetery, and that's what it reminded me of when I was reading the short story. I kept thinking of that movie. But anyway... particularly this episode. So what else? Oh yeah, I did want to point out Brendan Howes in the chat, who's also a fellow book nerd, saying that we squealed in unison on this one when they introduced Duarte. So it's not just me. Us book nerds get it. Anyway, Darrin, your thoughts on this?
When we built those wings, we rushed out into the galaxy like your brother rushed out into the street. No one could stop him. What the heck? Yeah, Admiral Creepy is how I have him in my notes. Because I listened back. I didn't remember if they actually had named him. I know they had said Admiral, so I figured he was the guy in charge. But I couldn't remember it.
They did specifically set his name Duarte because when they did, that's when I went, oh, it's Duarte.
Again, it must have just missed it. But
in the IMDb credits, while I'm watching it on Prime, it says his name is Lieutenant Hanna.
No, that must be referring to a different actor because I checked it said Admiral Duarte.
They're just messing with us, man.
Anyway, the first time IMDb is wrong.
Well, I had the subtitles on too, and then when he spoke, it said Duarte in parentheses.
Well, that's probably how you got it because they do a lot of stuff in the background that sometimes you don't always hear. No, again, could I have gone without this scene? Yeah. Did it introduce the character and I can see why it's there? Sure. But no, he did not come across as warm and fuzzy at all. There was a little bit of touching and then you could just sort of feel this sort of crazed, obsessive. I mean, if they wanted to give a touch of madness intro, I think that they did that. Definitely comes off as much more creepy, and anyone that does I'll do whatever I can to protect people, you're like, that's going to go wrong. So, good foreshadowing. Though I did have to laugh at the end when she wheels out her brother like into the forest with the full cart and everything. I'm like, those have tiny wheels. Is it a float thing? I don't know. How are you going to get over all that? It just looked funny. I don't know how else she would bring him out. She's not going to carry him or anything. But it did just look odd, just pushing a hospital gurney through the forest, as our final shot. But yeah, it's going pretty much where we expected it to. The one good thing is, when Bashir comes in and says, we've connected, we got a positive signal, which with that and the shot of the shipyard starting to glow a little bit, it gave the impression is they're turning on or connecting with the protomolecule, which obviously is the sign of future horrible things happening.
So in the chat, they're pointing out that Lieutenant Hana was Kara's teacher. It was a school teacher. Which was, it was a different guy.
Yeah.
So, what else was I going to say? So, yeah, they also, with closed caption, I noticed something like the murmurs of them talking, saying that someone accidentally hit the young boy with the cart, which I'm assuming is what they're calling that Jeep we saw 2 episodes ago. And that they're basically, they heard that he's going to face the firing squad because of it. So it shows you the type of society that they're setting up here. Yeah.
Well, and obviously small if you're having the leader of the colony coming to the funeral of a boy of an accident type thing. It does sort of give the idea that it's a smaller colony, that, there's a lot more of that kind of personal attention to be played to these issues. Which also is another reason why you think that people will tend to rush into scientific discoveries maybe faster than they should.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic to say the thing he said about rushing headlong into the gates. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, so do we have any thoughts about, well, I know, Darrin, you already mentioned the young girl carting her brother out into the forest. I think you can kind of see where this is going.
Resurrection Robo Kid or Alien Kid. It is. They come back fine. I mean, her little thing worked, but it wasn't exactly the same. It was a little different. And so, yeah, it's always the bad road that they go down. So I'm curious how this is actually going to end up wrapping up. I'm just surprised. Like I said, there's 2 episodes left. There's a lot to cover, I think, of storyline in that amount of time.
I will say the only storyline that I felt a little rushed to me this season was this one. Was this the Conio one? That's the only one that felt a little bit rushed to me.
Well, yeah, because it already feels like by the next one she's got to do the brother, and then maybe he comes back, and then the fallout is in the finale, because it usually that's the mistake, and that leads to the actual story and things happening. So it does feel. But again, I don't know what the actual story ends up being. So,
do you think it's going to be he's going to turn into a brain-eating zombie?
I would say a brain-eating zombie, but I think he may be something a little bit more like the kids we saw, in seasons 2 and 3. The protomolecule hybrids. The protomolecule hybrids, is you might be getting some kind of direction in like that. That's my guess.
What do you think, Rob?
I don't even know, man.
Yeah, fair enough.
Apparently, I'm a lousy guest, so I don't know.
All right, so let's go ahead and move over to a different storyline. Let's talk about Alva, Cirella, and Monica Stewart on series. It's interesting that that Captain from Mars I was praising so much last week, and not so big on her this week, she was pressuring Alva Cirella to get a joint UNN and MCRN fleet into Medina Station and take it over. And I wrote in my notes Alva Cirella's response. She said, "Rushing in headlong to salve our pride and prove our manhood is exactly what Anaros wants." And I think she's absolutely correct in that regards. However, we see the Martian captain talking on her little iPad there and saying that the MCRN's like well, if they're not going, just go without them. Which is, I don't think that's very smart, because I actually think Alva is right that they'll play right into their hands if they just go balls out with all their ships and try to take over the rings. Rob, what were your thoughts on this one?
On whether or not Avasarala's idea is good or not?
Yeah. Well, any thoughts you have? Did you agree with her? Did you agree with the Martians?
I think that this is probably one of the most interesting parts of what's going on right now, is them having to solve this problem. For me, it goes all the way to how I think Inaros has this really interesting plan to cover any kind of action that they do against him. He's got something to answer, for it. So I really like all that. I just don't think the character of Inaros is as interesting as his plan, or his son. But Avasarala is just doing, like, she's in this situation where there's no choice. You feel like they're trying to present you with a choice, but there isn't a good one, and the only one you can do is try to save these people. Now, I'm hoping that that'll tie in somehow with maybe what Amos found later with the message, because the last thing that she needs is for the belt to see them leave, just like Inaros did. Like, they're already saying that him leaving all those people there isn't even enough still to change anybody's minds. But if they leave, it's all forget it. Like, they will lose anybody else. So she has to just do this. So I really liked this part of the episode quite a bit.
Darrin, do you concur with Queen Avasarala?
Oh, yeah, of course. It's interesting because the series station is obviously our stories of the hearts and minds is where we have the focus. And I love Monica being there, and I love the kind of counterplay that we have going, because in a way we have the full breadth of how this war needs to be solved and where Avasarala is. You have the Martian, which is kind of where Avasarala was back in season 1. Very much go after the Belters, hit them hard. She's kind of in the middle now of, like, we can't do the stupid stuff because, he's totally going to be expecting it. And that's how I'm expecting next episode to open up, is the MCR and fleet going in and getting creamed. And then you have where Monica's again going in with their final bit, which I know we'll dive into a little bit more, which is it's got to be about all of us. We got to stop doing the us and then type of thing, and we have to kind of look at it in a larger story, which is why I like the station chief saying, we don't know who did this, even if she suspects that it was Marcos, we can't go in with the Earthers. We've pushed this far to have the belt be its own thing, and we need to kind of support that. So all of the politics that are playing in I think are really interesting.
Now, I don't know if I'm missing something, but I read the whole thing from the station chief's, her big speech there I took it as a mission of like admitting for setting the bombs and saying that they set the bombs, because we hear Avasarala and the Martians saying that there was Belter chargers used. And I took it as her saying that we can't look as the Earthers as their friends. We can't, take their water and sip on their water just because we're thirsty. We have to resist them at all costs because they're our enemies. That's what I took that to be.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, because I definitely saw this more as something that Marco would put in there, but she was just pushing the rallying cries. We can't just have Earth come in and rescue us and for us to forget all that we want. We still have to sort of push. So I saw her more as, well, like Dawes was, what she said that she agreed with. She is still pushing for a free belt. She just does, I think she's just kind of caught in the middle of it. And I agree that if the UN said, hey, we've got proof it was Belter charges, it had to have been Inaros, she wouldn't believe in that. She would just say this is more propaganda and this is more because they don't agree with each other, which is why I think Monica's bit at the end is so important. It's like, no, you guys are all fighting each other because we're different.
Yeah.
and that's what we've got to go back again. That's how I saw this.
Yeah, I mean, let's get more into Monica's stuff more because her it's good that they revealed she survived right away because I was hoping they wouldn't drag this out because they left it unclear last episode. And how I love how when she was trying to film the bodies and the guy was like, "Hey, you can't film in here," and she's like, you told me I had full access." And Alva Cirella's like, "Yes, you're right, I did say that," because I think Monica has earned respect in Alva Cirella's eyes, and she is going to give her leeway now more so than she was at the start of the season. But I love Monica's story, how it was all about the homeless belter guy and the cat called the Lucky Earther. Yeah, such a nice moment. This trying to humanize him, and how he was saying that he doesn't give a shit about war fighting or any of that. That is, he just wants his water. He doesn't. And I see, and I do agree that I think the Sodrani, I think her name was, the station who was in charge of the station, like she represents that on the belt. She wants to resist taking relief supplies from Earth. She wants to resist Earth at all turns, which is not, I think that's not helpful, and I think it's fighting warmonger on either side is bad, and I think that's the point Monica is trying to get across.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when she gives this report to Alva Cirella. She's like, "Well, I'm not sure this is going to change any Belters' minds." And she's like, "Well, that's not really my target audience." Saying that she wants to change the Earthers' minds about the belt, and so to bring everyone together. Rob, did you have any thoughts on this whole stuff?
The Monica character, I not that big a fan of, but I know why she's there, and so I appreciate it on the story level of what they're trying to do. But I just felt like it was weird that she's the only one. She's the only one there that's alive. Like everybody's dead. I just a couple of guys maybe. Just give us a couple of them left, and I would have felt like it just felt weird. Felt like a different show to me when they do things like that, where it's like clearly she's got plot armor on, and I don't know. But
oh, really? Okay.
She got some of that good Martian armor from some of her earlier work. That's how she trades her.
I don't know. See, I guess I was a bit more disappointed in the death fake out in the first place. Like for them trying to be like, "Oh, is she dead?" Like they shouldn't have done that in the first place. Like I'm happy she's alive. Like I think they should keep her alive.
I mean, her message and everything that they're trying to do in this part is, I do like, because this does have to be that we're all in this together kind of thing. As really lofty ideas as that is. To get everybody to do that. And I don't think we'll ever fully get that in this story. Trying to show things from both sides is, they have to, she's trying to show how bad we are doing to each other. And in the end, no one's going to win this. The people that have everything are still going to have everything. And we're just all going to be, everybody else is just going to be collateral damage to things that are out of our control now, and we have to figure a way to stop it. I do like that. I just don't like the character.
Fair enough. Darrin, your thoughts on this?
No, I agree. It took a while for Monica to kind of grow on me because she was a very annoying character. The fact that she just ended up doing some good stuff, I think, kind of redeemed her in my mind, and I do like what they have used her for. And I love the fact that it picks up with the Belter, that homeless guy bum is sort of how he's sort of portrayed out. That we had those questions are, what are they talking? Curious what the translation is. We get a bit of that translation just at the end. And it is the kind of perfect vehicle. This is somebody who has nothing, who is, living on a station there all of his life, somebody that no one would even give two glances at. And when something goes down, he's the one that's rushing in to help both sides. Doesn't care if it's Belter, doesn't care if it's Earther, doesn't care if it's a soldier, doesn't care if it's a civilian. He was helping everyone. and he has the perfect stories. It's not earthers and belters. It's the people who want more hate and the people who just want to live. And he's so tired of the hate. It is a perfect vehicle to tell the belter story.
He just went through one of the rings, man. He just fell in. Remember they talked about it.
Hopefully he will return shortly. But did you have any thoughts on what Darrin was just saying?
I just got so distracted by the cutoff. Right. I'm like, what is going on? No.
Oh, there he is. Here we go.
Wait, okay, he's back.
They're trying to stop the word from getting out, man. I have no idea what happened.
You fell through one of the rings.
Yes.
It just opened up and I just fell right through.
All of LA.
So in the chat, Dana says Monica have grown to love her. Truth, and I agree. Brendan says Lucky Earther was brilliant. Yeah, that was brilliant because he's fat and lazy, and he gets and is taken care of.
They give him everything he wants.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead, unless we had anything else to say about Monica Stewart. Yeah, cool. Let's go ahead and move over to Rosanate. Let's start with this confrontation between Amos and Holden, because I thought this is one of the thoughts I thought was absolutely amazing. It's interesting Clarissa find out, because it was funny, we were speculating last week who might find out that Holden did. I thought it would be Naomi, but apparently it was Clarissa. Who found out, and she told Amos, and then Amos is just like, it's like giving him the evil eyes when he's not knowing what's going on. And he's just like, I can take fire control away from you if you want, if you think that would help. And the way he confronts him about it, and is like, well, if we're not in it, to win, then what the hell am I even doing here? And then Holden gets really, upset, defensive, like, I'm the captain, it's my decision, it's my call to make. He's like, well, are you getting pissed off because I'm questioning your authority, or are you getting pissed off because you don't have an answer as to why you did it? And the fact that Holden doesn't respond, I think, kind of proves that second part was right. So, Darrin, what were your thoughts on this one?
Oh, you know how much I love every scene with Amos. And yeah, I was really curious how this was going to play out. I love how this whole arc of information and kind of dealing with it and processing does happen through this episode, because, yeah, I mean, Rob is right. This has to happen. It is kind of predictable, but how they work it is good. You have Amos that has, the fade off, the straight off face off, and it's the kind of two men hitting heads. Yeah, you did something I didn't like. Yeah, I'm in charge. Don't question me. But Amos is totally right. It's like you don't have an answer, or at the very least, not an answer that you are willing to face or share at the moment. What I do love is that it's enough to, it shows the trust that the crew still has for each other, even if they don't agree, though how it's being tested. I like the kind of back and forth that they have pushing that. I also like that it pushes Holden to immediately deal with it. And so this doesn't drag on. Again, it's one of the nice things about pacing. This whole issue gets sorted out this episode, so we can move on. And with some nice moments, again, nice couple upcoming scenes that deal with that.
Rob, what were your thoughts on this?
All right. Yeah. Well, in order for me to talk about this, I have to talk about the entire decision to not kill Mark.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Okay, just because I say something's predictable, it doesn't mean I'm not enjoying the predictability. It's how you do something predictable differently than somebody else has done it. You got to do put a little new polish on it. So I like all this predictability because they're doing it good. Still, the not shooting the person, it's the old pulling a gun on someone and not pulling the trigger. having the "I'm going to kill you" moment, and then going, okay, I've either mentally psyched myself out or someone talked me down for shooting them. I hate it. I hate that scenario and everything, and it's been done to death. And they do it here. And I really was praying that this show was going to give me like an out of nowhere, unceremonious kaboom. When Bobby says, "Fuck it, I tried. I'm taking the shot." It should have been that moment of, oh my God. She just took them all out. And everybody could have dealt with that emotional fallout in this episode. Because I feel like not just because you kill Inaros doesn't mean you kill his plan necessarily, when the guy's been thinking apparently many steps ahead, it feels like, with other people in his, that can handle things if maybe things went wrong, with who it sounds like he's talking to behind the scenes, with whoever else he's working with. And so going into this episode like that, pardon me, my voice is going. It didn't change the fact that like the confrontation between him and Amos wasn't great, because they're always great, because they're always so honest. I just wish that we were having a different conversation. That's all. I love how the Peaches is running it up the chain. You know what I mean? It's good that she found out. The more that she can do, the better. And it's only making me wish that we would have way more time with her. Because now she has become like everybody else that shows up on the Rossi. It's your new favorite character. You never want them to leave. Now that we have Bobby back, it's like, the only thing we're missing is the man who died for reasons.
Yeah.
That are what they are. He's the ghost of him is on that ship still with the music choices.
Yes, that was a nice moment to call back to the music. Yeah,
but
no, wait, hold on, Darrin. Why was that not a nice moment when they called back to Alex's music?
Sweet between the characters. I just don't like country music, and I'm tired of people singing and doing their stuff. So it's like the music comes on, and I'm like, turn it all the way down to 1 so I could just hear when the dialogue picks back up.
That's like when a baby's crying.
No, I totally
baby crying.
I agree. The music was painful to my ears, but the scene of what it was about was good.
But absolutely, Mark is right. I could see past my dislike of the music and understand that this was a good, nice moment.
Sure.
For the characters. Yeah. I like that they immediately start singing.
But I did want to talk a bit about the whole like Holden pulling the punches, because I don't know, I just have a different perspective, because I know the trope you're talking about, and I also irritates the hell out of me when they do that. I will not kill. Like, I thought that's what Holden did at the end of season 4 with Mercury when he refused to kill him. But I mean, it kind of made sense, because that's kind of what he wanted. He wanted to prove he was better than him, but it still felt like it kind of like, I will not kill. Where to me, this has a totally different feeling, because it had, and we'll get more to this in the Naomi scene with this Holden's motivations. It had a different feeling because it was all about him not wanting to be the man who killed his lover's son, which had a different dynamic. And we talked about it last week, too, the way Marco purposely manipulated Holden into it, the way he was like, oh, look, just move to the side so you can see Philip behind him. Which, makes Marco a disgustingly brilliant and effective, because his plan worked. I think the fallout that we got in this episode is also, like, it furthered better storytelling than had they just killed him right there. I don't know. That's just what I thought. But I know you're eager to see Marco dead. I can see. Yeah.
No,
which is understandable.
I just don't think he's an interesting character. And I think that maybe that's part of the point, that he could be anyone, he's just another belter who got fed up and then grew this thing and blah, blah, blah. but I just don't think he's an interesting villain. I think his thing with his son is weak. I just the plan is great, and if you look at it's almost like some of the writers are even like going like because they keep writing characters who go, you're kind of off the rails, and they keep just replacing them with another character who has to say, well, because all the other people are telling you the right thing, they're all either dead or working downstairs. Like, it's he even looks like a sci-fi video game character if you really look at him. The way he's so put together. He is so like an action figure for like a space series with the really tight ponytail, like, just chiseled, everything perfect with the uniform that looks like something a kid would want in a package, like the Expanse. All those things are interesting, but everything about him isn't, because it's so just I'm the guy who got, I'm pissed off at the world, but it feels like, again, I'm killing all these people because a woman did me wrong,
Well, we'll get more into Marco a little bit later, but I that's where we differ, because I think he's a brilliant villain, but that may have something to do with the fact that I read the books. But I because to me he comes off as a realistic, egotistical revolutionary.
Yeah, and that my opinion might change if I read the books.
Yeah,
but I don't think it would change how I feel about him, how they're presenting him here.
Fair enough, but I still like it. But anyway, so let's move over to the next scene in the Resonante. We get Holden's confrontation with Naomi, which again I thought was an amazing scene. I absolutely loved it, and how she got pissed off when he revealed, she's like, "I don't need you protecting me now. All the people Marco kills is going to be on my conscience because of what you did." But then I like his response of saying, like, I just could not be the man who killed your son. Like, I could not. I know you say it's okay, but you could waking up in bed with me every morning next to the man that murdered your own son. And then the way she said, and then he also confronts her about the fact that she's hiding from the trauma that she suffered and trying to pretend like she's not suffering when clearly she is, which I thought was also very poignant. So I just thought I'm loving their chemistry, their whole relationship this season. I thought this was a very powerful scene. Darrin, we'll start with you on this one.
No, love this scene. And you're right. It really comes down to the fact that I couldn't be that for you. I could not be that you would wake up next to the man who killed your son. And he's totally right. That's exactly what would happen. And he knows her well enough to know that is what her train of thought would be, even though she would not want it to happen. And it would undermine everything that they had. And that he's just being honest. Is it being maybe a little selfish? Is it just kind of forming that right? Yes, no, but it's also just pointing out the reality. Look, we could all die, but I'm not going to be the one that's going to pull that particular trigger. They didn't go hunting for it. He gave him the opportunity to surrender. He tried. So, I mean, yes, I guess you're right in the sense of there was a gun pulled and he couldn't pull the trigger. But on the other hand, it was Bobby that just pulled that trigger. It wasn't even Holden that gave the order and then changed his mind. He wasn't about really killing them at all, even before Philip sort of popped his head in. Marco revealed Philip behind him. That wasn't what he was going for at that point. So I don't think it's so much of a change of his character, but I do like, again, it got sorted through and it got dealt with, and they're putting all the stuff out in the open. And I just love that.
I think it's right in line with Holden's character. He's always been the bit of the Boy Scout, and I do think that had Marco not moved to the side, not saw Philip there, that he wouldn't have disarmed him. It's because of that reminder that was staring him right in the face.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it did put it up, but it was also the honest, like, I can't do it.
Anyway, the chat, Rob seems to agree with you on not liking Marco. Alyssa and Dina says it. Tired. Dina saying, I'm tired of Marco and Philip. And Alyssa, hello. Thanks for joining. Saying that, of course, yeah, she's always expressed Marco hate. Anyway, Rob, what were your thoughts on the Naomi and Holden confrontation?
I feel like, the not blowing them up was also that we could get to this scene. Not that it's a bad scene. Like, again, I'm just thinking of it differently a little bit, or I'm getting to the same place differently. So in order for that, I have to accept everything that happened that I wish hadn't happened. But like, I was right as Darrin was talking about. Yeah, he could have just been like, well, technically, I didn't do anything. But Holden is like, and again, also with what Mark is saying is that, yeah, this does fit with Holden's character. So, I mean, if I want to complain about that cliched thing, it's in his character to do that cliched thing. So it's, it's just something that I wish they hadn't done. So it's totally, but like, he's not even the guy who could go well and lay the blame where it really is. Not really blame, but everybody in that ship was ready for him to die. She took the shot, and he chose to override everyone on that ship because he didn't want to be the guy, or even thought of, like, you were there, you could have stepped in and you didn't.
Yeah.
Even though no one was going to think that, but it's in his character to think that everyone would think that. And his own personal guilt that he allows himself to feel, of like the empathy that he feels of the person firing the shot. I'm as guilty of letting them take that shot if I'm not, as guilty if I don't take that shot. There's so much that guy puts on himself. So it's totally, it's great that he's doing this as far as like, because it keeps to the character. It just still feels like so, oh God, just blame it on somebody else, Holden. You could have just blamed it on anyone, man. Like say comms went down, something. But I do really like how, she gets to come back on him with the dialogue and the chemistry are what makes me, like forgive choices that I don't like. Again, this show always, in the quality and the dialogue and everything that this show does, always raises the bar on those things that I would normally find tiresome. And so this is not just another, I forgive you moment between two characters. This is honestly, just two people bearing their souls like they really need to right now to be on the same page, because really he did take that choice away from everyone.
Yes.
Not just the people on that ship. They were out there. They had the opportunity. Anybody else would have done it, and I don't know. I mean, if they had put if Naomi was in that seat, it'd probably even be an easier scene to write because she might not have even fired the missile. But the way that they do this between these two characters just shows like how great the relationship that they've built over all these years. I feel like they really are a couple. I don't even like, and that these are just things that they are really good at telling between these kind of real moments between two characters that we like.
Yeah, and I feel like they ended the scene with the understanding that Holden was not to do that again. That, I don't know if they were explicit about it, but that's kind of the impression I got, that Naomi was saying, look, I made my peace. I tried to save Philip. I couldn't save him. I could have just stayed on there and martyred myself as a mother, but I chose not to. I chose to move on, so don't take that away from me. And I think he kind of got that impression that he needs to stop protecting her in that regard.
Well, and Bobby will definitely find out next time. And
I
that
still
will not
don't-
end well.
I don't think Bobby's gonna find out. I'll
No.
move on to the next scene because I think they're making it clear that she's not gonna find out.
No,
the
she's
way-
not. I'm saying if he had done it
Yeah.
again, then she would. No, I
Oh,
love how they
right,
turn
right.
it back around and bring it back to Peaches. And I love Bobby like ranting throughout the
Yes.
episode. Just walking through ranting. Darn it, why did this? Rah! And then she leaves. Darn it, why did this? Rah! Then she leaves, you know?
So Alyssa just watched Voyager recently, making a Voyager reference. Holden and Naomi are the opposites of Tom and B'Elanna from Star Trek Voyager. The fact they are a couple feels completely natural and genuine. Yes, totally agree. Tom and B'Elanna were such a... I never bought them for a second. They were a horrible couple. Anyway, that's my Voyager rant. But, so... let's get to the next scene with Clarissa, which, god damn it, another scene that I was seeing. This is why when I went back and thought about the episode, I thought, no, this episode actually is really good because scenes like this are just so damn good, especially as Darrin was just talking about. Started with Bobby, blah, 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 and then she leaves and Clarissa just very, casually, look, I'm not going to tell her. It's not up to, I don't think she needs to know. It's not really up to me. But more than that, she basically tells Holden she did the right thing, saying, and goes into this whole backstory of where she decided, and they're trying to retroactively correct their mistakes in season 3, which I appreciate, but it's not going to work. But anyway, they go back and talk about where she changed her mind about why she decided not to kill Holden. And I can't remember the exact words. I should have wrote it down. But the thing that Holden
We
said
were all reaching for violence.
Yes.
Why can't we reach for something else?
Thank you, Darrin.
Yes,
and I think that was the theme of the episode, basically. I think this is the theme of the episode they got to in the Monica stuff. They're getting to in this stuff too. That and the way Clarissa, talked about the people she killed. Some deserved it, most of them didn't, but she feels just as guilty on all of them, and tells Holden never to regret choosing not to kill. And I thought, god damn. And the way that they're like bonding, this is like more than they did in the books. I really appreciate it. The way Holden's like, that's good advice. Like, God, this is such good writing. It's such a powerful scene. Rob, let me start with your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, it's moments like this. Again, I hope everybody can forgive my critiques and other parts of it.
No.
Because it's literally like the fact of where this character started. I mean, she is straight out of Game of Thrones. She is like the person who was just a kid growing up, and then with everything that went on in her life, she and what happened to her sister created this other person. Her relationship with her father. She, you think she's just this despicable person, but no, we're in the Expanse world where people are, most of the time, all the characters are pretty realistic and grounded and have real human depth to them that's unique to each person. There's nobody on here who's a carbon copy of another person, really. And where she started and where she is now is one of the best journeys that I didn't know I would want. I wanted to just hate this character because like we did with other characters that like characters like Jaime Lannister and stuff like that, where we go, oh my gosh, there's a real character underneath this kind of trope. And she just kills it. She's been killing it in every scene, earning everything that she's getting on this ship, doing things, proving, like how much she needs this and how much they need more people on the ship like her. And just their back and forth. It's really great to see that kind of character development that honestly, most character development on shows is just straight up garbage. And they could never take a character like this and not change them that didn't feel absolutely hackneyed and done for some kind of stunt. This is just real how people grow and change, and seeing two people who could just as easily be strangling each other across the table are sharing a meal. Just bang, just awesome.
And I think, one of the things that worked so well with this scene is not only, again, they open it with her finding out, they end it with her kind of like telling him, don't ever feel bad about not killing someone. That's from the murder convict that's effectively busted out of prison and hiding quiet on their ship. I mean, the dichotomy of vision's always hilarious here. But what really works in this scene isn't all of the dialogue. It's the quiet moments too. It's the fact they make that conversation simple. They make the story simple. When it's done, he just says, good advice. And then it's back to eating, when she's like, the extra salt, which I'm guessing because it's still the crap food that guy gave him. And so that's a lot of salt. I like it this way. And then just to not, the quiet is as important as the dialogue sometimes, in allowing the audience to take in the scene as well and not feel rushed. Like, we got to move to the next thing. Someone else has to talk. Somebody else has to give us exposition, where we can sit with some characters and process what is happening with them as well and be trusted to do that. Yeah, give me more of that by far. And I'm totally with Rob. Never thought that Clarissa would be the character that I want to see more of. And now I'm like, yes, more scenes with Peaches.
I mean, again, I'm a snooty book reader, so I knew this was coming the moment they introduced her. So that's why I looked on her in season 3 a little bit different. And then Don was like, I will never forgive her. I don't know. Never say never. You don't know. But, yeah, so in the chat, something I wanted to point out here. Hold on. It was Silver Scale pointed out that they believe that Holden still can't be the one that kills her son. So it's kind of disagreeing with my assessment that there was an understanding between the two of them that Holden isn't to do this again, saying that Holden still can't do it, and that Naomi doesn't think it will drive a wedge between them, but it will, which is an interesting interpretation. I think that definitely could be the case. I'm definitely open that maybe Holden, if given a chance, would do the same thing over again.
I think there might be something shouted over the comm was, this better not get disarmed, or Amos would be like, do I have to lock you out, Holden? So no, I mean, I would expect that the circumstances would be, that was kind of a very unique situation. Again, not looking for a fight and being ambushed. It's different if they go into something. Then I think there's a different understanding at that point. So. Yeah, I don't know if there. Yeah, I didn't come to the same conclusion you did, Mark, that there was a definitive understanding. More that just they have both said their pieces, and so what was going to come up next would just be, again, another evolution of whatever would have to happen next.
Yeah, no, I believe that to be the case. So, let's go ahead and move over to everyone's favorite villain, the traitor, the coward, Marco Inaros. So he's just gonna have you thrown out the airlock. He doesn't give a fuck. He's like, he just tells the people, oh, just throw out these two officers out the airlock because they were on the ship that got fired on. And of course, Rosenfeld, knowing that it was the dumb thing to do, tried to protest, but he interrupts her. And it's like, if the captain protests, then throw him out the airlock too. And so then, later in the episode, she's like, oh, so did you space them? She's like, yeah. Well, did the captain protest? Yeah, he did. So did you space him too? No, I did not. He's like, oh, insubordination. And it shows what a terrible leader he is. That's why I think he's a good villain, because it's a terrible leader. But actually, it also illustrates how smart Rosenfeld is, and that she's the one really propping him up and really holding him up, and she's standing up to him when no one else will. And he actually shares a drink with her over it. And the way she's like, no, well, you're not, it's showing that you're a coward, or showing that this is getting to you, but it's not getting to you because you're Marco Inaros. Things just roll right off you. Sure. But that's the image she wants to present, which in fact is not reality. And so he sees the wisdom in that. So that was, but another great thing with Rosenfeld I want to point out is that I love the scene between her and Philip. I thought that scene was so good. The way she was like trying to get him to apologize to Marco, and Philip, of course, didn't want to do it, which I agree. Philip shouldn't apologize to that asshole. But Philip like tries to threaten her. It's like, what do you think my father would do if I shot you in the face right now? She's like, I don't know. Maybe he would just feel guilty about it and send my family money and pretending it's remorse. I was like, damn! Like there should have been that other belter standing behind her, going boom when she said that. Like, I would have appreciated
Philip, do you
that.
need some ointment for that really bad burn?
Because of course that is exactly what Philip did when he shot his best friend in the face. But anyway, oh my god, that was so good. Anyway, your thoughts on this whole Marco Rosenfeld thing, Darren?
Honestly, I'm really enjoying Rosenfeld as a character. You need to have someone to show some smarts and some intelligence. And this is someone who's obviously doing a good first officer bit, making sure that the ship is running, keeping the captain up, making sure things are going. She's dealing with Philip in the right way. Yes, of course, but he's the captain. He can't be distracted. And she's right with Marcos. You can't be seen as weak. You can't be bothered by these little things. People will lose trust in them. You have to be the toughest. Whatever happens. You've got your vision. So I'm really enjoying this character, and I love how they're playing that this is somebody who is smart and that she does have ambitions of her own. I want governorship of Medina Station, the crossroads of the universe. Okay, that's not a small thing, but she's earning it, and hopefully that won't involve Marcos's yeah. Just stay away from anybody that has a screaming chicken shirt. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh,
yeah,
geez.
you know how much I love Marcos. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that this character is doing some stuff, and throwing Marcos right, because it does make him look weak. That is an emotional response. Everybody is emotionally responsive here. She's the only one that's kind of calmly thinking about stuff.
And that is probably a great way. That's a fantastic way. That's like the number one way to get your own crew to turn against you. To do shit like that.
That's facing people.
And I just want to jump into the chat real quick. Silver Skills saying that's 100% how you manipulate a narcissist, but it's a dangerous game. I think she and Philip will overthrow Marco, though. That's an interesting thought. Anyway, Rob, what are your thoughts on Rosenfeld and this whole thing?
Is she a book character?
She is, but they gender swapped. There was a male, and they're pretty much nothing alike. I remember the book character being more cowardly and dumb, so okay. She wasn't really like this.
Okay, because I've always liked Kathleen Robertson, and this is kind of some people might think is I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying I am this person. This is it could be taken as a thankless role. The XO that's replacing the last XO, he's running out of people. We've got another actor brought in, but I do like what she's been doing in this. And I do think that she could be one of those characters that, to me right now, feels like when everything goes down, if there's still a ship to be flown in, she'd be the one going, like, after it's all done, like, I surrender and I'll help you in any way I can to, like, promote myself after this, to try to get myself to be like high up in, somehow escape being his second in command when it's all over. Like, being able to tell the inners and the other people, I can help you find all the things that Naros has left or whatever, I can be valuable. She definitely seems like she's working Philip, and honestly, I just don't think it's that hard of a job for her to do. I think it's these, especially Philip, and you could say, oh, he's a kid, and yeah, that's great, but I mean, she just kind of like works both of them. She can tell either of them whatever, and nothing happens to her. And I mean, her argument to Marco is perfect. I mean, go ahead. You can You can just do whatever you want to me, but you're just losing more and more people that are telling you the right things, and I dig it. I dig what they're doing with her. Again, like I said, for what could be considered kind of a minor, insignificant role.
Yeah, no, I will say that this role is much better in the show than it was in the books.
Yeah.
Like, I barely noticed.
Yeah, another cowardly, Dr. Smith type character,
Yeah. So let's get into the Philip stuff, making his friend with the worker. Oh, sorry, dozed off a bit. I mean, I think the storyline serves a purpose that it shows Philip starting to realize there's more out there and maybe start to realize the life he chose where it has a, military mercenary or whatever is not really for him, or militant, I guess you would call it, and militiaman, whatever. And that maybe he just wants a normal, quiet life, and he's starting to see how it affects the normal people. But of course, he totally regresses at the end of the episode when he sees Jormer's message. But I think this is, I think this is progress that's sort of sticking with him, even though but I really strongly believe we could have had fewer scenes with this. Like the whole thing. I mean, it was kind of funny when he was like fucking around with the missiles, like, "Oh no, I'm stuck!" Like that was kind of a funny way to fuck with him. But I don't think we needed that and a lot of this other stuff. But anyway, Rob, what were your thoughts on these things?
Yeah, again, just that kid. He is so up and down. And we all know where it's going in some shape or fashion. I think we all know where this is all going with this character, but I just feel like it's just another one. Like, really, did we really need more flip-flopping? Like, it's all that's been happening. And it's like the immediate, I did something, and the immediate opposite reaction. As soon as he turns his back, he gets the, what am I doing? Why am I here? How did this happen? Look on his face.
Yeah.
And I'm over it. I'm just over it. And again, maybe it's just the way I think, but like if you're gonna have a scene where a couple of guys are messing with a missile and you don't blow them up, you're letting down the audience. If you want to blow it up, just remove the character that's important. But still give us that where a couple of guys are like, oh no, or it at least flies out and hits something else, and they're like, we were never here. Something like that. Because
the missile just shoots off and hits another ship, and they just go and start whistling and walking away.
It's just these scenes are just there for Philip to see what life is like when you're not the son of a terrorist leader. And it's all just there to, well, my brother did this, and it's so he's like, oh, man, yeah, that's right. And then it's all just thrown away by the end of it when she throws like, and I don't think this is the only time he has heard this speech of your father has no one. I don't think this is the first time that we've heard that said to Philip by somebody that is trying to get him to side with his father more. And it's just, yeah, like you kind of said, like we could have gotten rid of some of these scenes. We didn't need them. Like again, it would have been really funny though if the torpedo had just blown up or carried the one guy away like he was stuck on it. Like he was stuck in the he's like, hey, I can't get out, and the whole thing just turns into like oh my god, I accidentally turned it on. Well, what are you gonna do? Well, I guess you're gonna take off with the torpedo, buddy. Like I know that changes the reality of the situation, and it wouldn't be the Expanse if they did something that broad, but it would have been funnier.
So I just wanted to jump in the chat real quick, Alex, saying that I don't think that Philip regrets. He was just making a show for the Pellis crew. That's an interesting interpretation. I don't interpret it that way. I think that he's full on like. I get the impression that it wasn't just the show. I get the impression he was obviously pissed off, and I think he just hates being defied like that, and it sort of got him back into the whole Yeah, but
he's like his whole situation feels like when a father and a mother are splitting up and they're tugging at the kid in the middle, except both people on the ends are the same guy.
yeah,
It's Marco and Marco. And he's like, he sees the good in his dad and he sees the bad in his dad. He's getting pulled around by the same person, and in front of him he's just got Kathleen Robertson telling him, be your father's best friend. It's and I know we're supposed to feel sorry for him, but I just don't. He's had too many chances to. The writers have given this character too many chances to have any meaningful redemption other than to just finally go, hey, Dad.
Is Philip's middle name Waffle? Because he does. Well, because even at the end, because you have some interesting stuff, and you get to hear about Moss, the guy's brother on series, and the kind of stories, and hey, not good at looking after himself, but better at looking at other people. I mean, there's some nice humanity there, and obviously the main thing here is Philip learning that, hey, this missile didn't just not go off; somebody turned it off. Was it my mom? Was it Holden? Was it, you've got these things are going into his mind, which is why that last little speech is odd, because in some ways it's rousing, but it's also, once you start, there's no turning back now. Oh my God, am I doing the right thing? I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing. What was he called it? I think my son called it the chameleon oh shit eyes. Because he was just like, this is what we're going to do. And then he turns everyone's back. He's like, I think, I'm not sure. Is that, he's got sort of a failure to commit even in that moment. Is he rousing everyone up? Is he questioning himself as he's rousing them up? I think part of it is he's doing like what Rosenfeld said. He's supporting his dad. He's taking that position. He's being Marcos's son. And maybe that's the default he's trying to fall into. But he's definitely not committed to it. And that look in the eyes exactly said it. Was like, but are we? Did someone save my butt? Did my look in the mirror with, Mom, don't kill me, actually work? Yeah. So I don't care about Philip that much. If he had made a choice already, but even at this ending point, he's still kind of waffling with what it is that he wants to do. I don't know. Unless he's got some plan like, I'm going to go stab my dad in the back right now, then I don't know. I hope somebody else shoots him. Bobby can do it with Holden not there, and we'd all be fine.
I think you're onto something. He could be planning, like he just wants to make it look good to get himself back up close so he can do some kind of big step in moment where he needs to get back close to his dad for the right reasons this time. And that would be a nice little twist. The fact that I can think of it makes it a little less powerful, but it would be better than him just like, I don't know, like doing some sort of teary-eyed, I took over the ship from Dad and I'm going to crash it into a rock or some kind of moment. I would hope that they'd give us some kind of interesting way to do this. Like even if she pulls him, Rosenfeld pulls him aside and says, like, this is how we get out of this, kind of situation to him. That would be cool too. But I'm ready to see where they're really going, because he keeps kind of, Marco keeps kind of like being like the guy who has another thing going on, and we're not being told what it is yet. Even though, he said a lot of different things, but there feels like there's one last thing that's got to happen before this happens, and I think it's going to definitely happen in the next episode. I'm just a little worried what that means.
All right, so let's go ahead and move over to our final storyline, Mina Drama. Yes, I love this stuff. This stuff is so good. So we see her and Walker and her team approaching the station. I love like how they see there's all this resources and food that he's hoarding when the people at the belt are starving, and someone points that out, and Walker's like, "Well, what good is being a revolutionary if you don't get rich?" Which is kind of sums up sort of Marco's mindset, but they go on board to find out that they're actually not alone. And this was really exciting for me. It kind of startled me when the people just popped out of the door and started shooting at them. And one of Walker's men got killed, and then we had another encounter where I think they like tried to set off a bomb. And this is something I didn't notice the first time I watched it. Actually, I had to watch this a second time. When Joseph gets his arm crushed by the container, he actually pushes Drummer out of the way. Like she was the one who was going to get crushed by that container, but he pushes her out of the way and he gets crushed. And the other guy was, standing over him ready to shoot him, but Drummer's there and kills the dude. Such a powerful moment. And then Michio stepping up and coming in as a mech, proving her worth. Jeff was like, "Oh, she can't handle this. She wish she could get rid of her. She's not." But it was showing so much guts and so much strength by just coming in there and like knowing exactly what to do and trying to save his arm. But then the container just fell and crushed it even more, and realized it's a lost cause. Kisses him. Says, "I love you, I'm sorry," and starts ripping, cutting, amputating his arm while he was screaming. Such a powerful scene. And before I get your thoughts on this, just want to say a big thank you for Dana Parsons in the chat for his super chat, $5. Very much appreciated. Thanks so much for tuning in, Dana. Anyway, Rob, I guess we'll start with you, the number one Drummer fan. What were your thoughts on this part of the scene? We'll get to the rest later, but what were your thoughts on this beginning heist stuff?
I hate it because I always feel like I'm being biased about it because of how much I like this character, but I do feel like Drummer's the best character on this show to me. Amos is a close second, but Drummer's just because I love the character who's out on the fringes doing their thing. We know what her morals are, or what her character is like, so we know that she's about doing the right thing for everyone too. Like she's got that Belcher heart, same as Naomi, but she's all about doing what's right, and it's just. But she's the one who's willing to get her hands really dirty and get in there behind enemy lines. She's and doing it again in this episode where she's just such a freaking boss. They're out in the middle of space, hanging there like in a Mission Impossible moment. So if you miss, it's over. You don't get another second chance to like go, okay, wait, we just gotta wait till that comes. No, they're just poised. They know what they're doing. Like they do it every day. Like it's just, it's Thursday. We got to go to the crates out in the middle of nowhere to check out. Like it's just, they're so she's got her crew so poised and ready to do anything for her too, but they're still like-minded people. They're not drinking some kind of Drummer Kool-Aid, and these are the real Belters to me. These are the ones that are out there, not the people that have been trying to that are on series and everywhere else that are trying to put their heads in the sand or don't really know what's going on. These are the ones that are out there that understand the difference between Marco and the Inners and everything that's going on. So when they get out to those crates and everything, even though I knew there was going to be some trouble on there and I thought maybe it was going to be a trap, but it just being guards makes sense. I loved the action in the scene. Cutting off someone's arm with that small a knife. Wow. We've watched The Walking Dead enough times between Darrin and I. We've seen people get things cut off with much, much better tools than that. Cutting through that much bone on a ship like that, like her blade was like that big, it looked like. So I don't know if space metal is better in the future, but like that would have hurt like a mofo big time. And the way that actor reacted to the whole thing felt really good.
Yeah. Yes.
And it gave, again, this episode has all these great great scenes for everyone that just keep upping the ante for each one, whether it's a dialogue moment that changes, like that changes the game of television, or a scene of action and great sci-fi that changes everything. This show just keeps doing that, and this whole sequence just killed it. And I mean, her moment, I mean, are we talking about the whole thing? Or are we waiting for a minute to talk about her whole spiel?
Oh, we'll get to that later. Yeah, I want to
Okay.
get Darrin's thoughts first.
No,
before
this
we get into that.
whole thing was excellent, and I'm always just here for it. And no matter what I might think, this show always still gives us some of the best sequences that I don't see coming. Like, the way that they did set up this whole thing, first off, as much as it's not really happening, it looks like it's really happening. I swear on the big ass TV that I've got in front of me, where I'm looking at the trailer, all those trailers in space, and it looks so good that you got to give it up to the special effects teams on this show that create these sequences that give us so much joy, that make this show stand out from other sci-fi shows.
Absolutely. And the showrunners are talking about that the budget hasn't gone up pretty much at all during the course of the show. It's just they've gotten better. They know how to spend the money better. They've gotten better at doing it, and it really shows. Yeah, absolutely. So, Darrin, you get your thoughts on this.
Oh yeah, if I was still doing my singular reviews, this would be our Scene of the Week. For this, because freaking Michio hitting her badass button and showing everybody that she is not squeamish. She just doesn't want to kill, but if you're in danger, she will do whatever is necessary to save your life. The fact that she doesn't pause, she just goes right in there, jumps in. What are you doing? And that last bit when it's just like, I love you and I'm sorry. And Walker gets the best line. Like, oh fucking hell! Just right behind. And you're right. The actor, the chunks of flesh that we're seeing, the way the actor is regarding, the way the intensity of the scene. I mean, all just squeamish, but right there. And it just it's so beautiful that Michio gets that redemption of like, this is why she's there. This is why she's part of the crew. Was freaking awesome. And it does raise questions like, why are there guards there? Who are they hiding behind? You're right. A ship would be better to watch this. So this is like other shit going. This is, that there's just levels of sneakiness and weird. And it's not just I'm hiding supplies. Walker's right. No, man, I'm sneaking some stuff for myself, and I got people watching in case pirates come in to steal my stuff.
I thought the conclusion that they drew is that there was a supply drop coming, and so they were there to sort of prepare the supplies, and that's why they immediately like, scan it for another shift. Do it now.
Sure. No, I mean, I got that, but also again, there's no other ships, so it's not like they flew out here to gather up for someone else. They're on the ship, that they're stationed basically on these supply things.
I got the impression there was still a ship coming because Drummer was like in a rush. He's like, all right, we got to get out of here in an hour because there's still maybe a ship.
Oh yeah. I mean, but say they may be preparing, but there are still guards stationed on the station. They're not there. To me, they felt like permanent guards that might be getting together for a run that's arriving.
Yeah.
But the point is it makes it all feel extra layered of like, there's definitely stuff messed up going on. So I and also it's like, why do you have like bombs? You have like booby traps inside there, which is what the guard must have blown to try and kill Drummer before Joseph saved her, because he was hiding somewhere else and then popped up.
Yeah.
So it's just, it makes it feel extra creepy. But again, who cares? Michio just kicked ass, and that's what this was all about. That and where we're going next.
So I want to jump in the chat real quick and say another big thank you for Silver Scale, another $5 super chat. Gonna miss these lives. For drummer Michio and the belt. Yes, thanks so much for your support. Very much appreciated. Yeah, thanks for joining us for this. So, a couple things I wanted to say about this. One thing that had me a little bit confused was what they did, like when they cut because there was like two like things that were sort of connected, and they cut them. And I think the impression I got was that they were hidden. Like they were tethered together to be hidden so people couldn't find them. And so she took what she could from it in an hour, but sort of let it drift up where it would be found so it would no longer be hidden. So the belters would assumably get it and start divvying out the supplies. That's the impression I got, but I'm not certain about that.
I mean, that could be. I mean, I think her anger was more like, we're taking all of your shit. We're going to snap it. That's going to send it off in whatever directions. And the way the ship was by it, it looked like they were at least guiding. So yeah, it's being sent somewhere. I didn't think of it as whether hidden or not hidden, but definitely like, I'm not just raiding your stuff. I'm taking all your stuff. And yeah, if she's going to go hand that to somebody, that's going to hit series in a month.
Well, I definitely got the impression that Marco wouldn't have it anymore. Setting it free. Yeah,
for sure. What they were doing with it, I didn't know. I figured the timing of it was to send it in a particular direction, but I have no idea what that is.
And go ahead, Rob.
Imagine if this was the real reason we had supply chain problems, is because all our trailers are out. Our trailers are out in space, and they're all, we got to find them. We got to find all these tethered.
We just go into the ocean, and there's just two cargo freighters tied together, just rotating around.
That's why I can't get my original motion picture poster from China, because it's out there in the belt.
So, and the other thing I wanted to point out is we know from the first episode of The Expanse, the pilot episode, that the technology does exist in this time frame to regrow arms. And I didn't catch this, but apparently I saw someone else said that when we see Michio comforting Joseph in bed, that he had one of those things on. That was going to regrow his arm. So
it looked really cool.
It was a horrible experience for him, but he won't have to live without an arm for the rest of his life. So that's some consolation for him.
Those pirates got a good medical plan.
Let's get into this. I fucking love this speech that drummer gives. This is for the traitor, the coward, Marco Renaus. Like, I love how she starts it out that way, and she like puts it on a broad span so everyone can hear. And the ship's like, broad span, are you sure? It's like, you heard me. Do it. And it's like, okay. And so has Dread Electric pointed out in the chat that Walker has a great line here too. And it's like, well, so much for anonymity. Like, I love this Walker guy. It's like, he's really great. But anyway, yeah, her whole speech about, God, I should have wrote this. Did you write this down word for word, Darrin?
I did not. I just did not. It's just drummer being awesome is what I wrote. Yes,
basically, because she says, let's see if, I didn't.
I have it in front of me right now. If you want me to read it.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
This message is for the traitor, the coward, Marco Renaus. You hunted me and mine, and still we are here, unbent, unbroken, unbowed. And you are nothing. Well, so much for anonymity. And that's where that says that his thing there. So but there's more to.
Yeah, there's more that appears in the Philip scene. Like, we only got the start of it on this scene, but in the Philip scene, we got like the rest of the speech where it says something like, go ahead and increase the bounty on me. It doesn't matter because I will always be the one who took this from you. Die. It says something like die empty. And I was like, God damn it. That was, and you can see the other people in that cafeteria Philip was in were like, they were getting to her. And I think that's why Philip freaked out, because he saw that drummer was getting to them. And I love Marco's reaction too. Just see the anger like boiling inside him. It was such a great moment. And This is why I think is, again, you guys don't get the reference, but this is why I think this is like the Damara speech of the show, because I feel like this is sending the message like to everyone in the belt. This is really putting Marco down. You abandoned, you said something in that speech also about how you
abandoned your people, stole their stuff,
abandoned them, and it's sort of, and we already saw from the news things that in the belt that Philip was watching that Marco's already getting bad press in the belt, but when this comes out, it's really going to turn the opinion against them. And moreover, Alva Cirella is looking for allies in the belt. So how is she going to react when she sees this as well? And this is just the biggest, like, it was such a badass moment. This is why I love this episode so much. That was like one of my favorite moments of the entire show. Rob, number one drummer fan, your thoughts on this thing?
No, I mean, first off, I mean, she gets to say unbent, unbroken, unbowed. That is, you changed that a little bit. That's a title of a Game of Thrones episode right there.
Yeah, but I cringed when I heard it because that episode was terrible.
Yeah, but because it matters. You got to say, like, there's an episode of the X-Files where one of them, like, I think that the tag at the end of the boom is that deceive, inveigle, and obfuscate.
Obfuscate, yes.
Obfuscate.
Yes,
like,
yes.
You get to say 3 words like that in a row. They just always like give that power. And she got to have that moment of the we are unbent, unbroken, unbowed, and we're the ones out here messing you up. Not all these other people that you're trying to take out. It's that one little tick that you can't pull out, and I'm coming. I'm calling you out in front of everyone. All these other people have all these other reasons, and they want to. You've got them pinned behind this reason, but you have nothing for me. I don't have all these things to worry about that you think everybody else does. I have one goal, and that's to come after you. You've got to worry about everybody else. So worry about the singular person. How are you going to stop me? Because you can't stop what you're doing in any forum, or someone will take advantage of it and get the leverage, and you will have nothing. So she's great, and that's why I'm really worried about her going into next episode.
Really quick, I want to point out in the chat, Alex409 says it's House Martell's words on there, Chris. Yes, I'm aware, and it's good in the books. It's just that episode kind of ruined it for me. But yeah, House Martell worked in the books for sure. And I think there was an intentional reference because the authors of the books, who are also producers, writers on the show, know George R.R. Martin has worked with him before. So I think that, and they've done like little Easter eggs I pointed out before about Game of Thrones stuff. So I think this one was also very
having a White Walker in the last scene was pretty obvious. Too. Like, just standing there like it was like they wanted to do like a coffee cup kind of situation that happened in Game of Thrones. So they were just like, well, what? Just put a White Walker in the corner and see if anybody knows.
And and Brendan Howes points out that it's in the wrong order. Yeah, it's a different order that Trevor says it in. But yeah. And Dina says it's an old Native American quote fitting that card G gets to say. Oh, interesting.
Definitely sounds right.
Anyway, Darrin, let's get your thoughts on this speech.
I took your stuff. I took your stuff. Yeah. Just drummer is awesome. Kara G plays her tremendously. This is what you're waiting for. She sees her family hurt. One was already spaced. She's already mad at him. She doesn't care anymore. And yeah, it's the revolution has its own revolution within it now. And I can't wait to see where this is going. It's a great in-your-face statement. It totally meant to mess up with Marcos. It does mess with his mind. It's going to set with the crew. And as much as Philip is trying to rise up and turn things around, again, the chameleon oh shit eyes at the end reveal. I don't even think he's buying his own story at that point. He's seeing that something is definitely things are not the reality that he wants or thought that they were going to be. So. I'm really excited how this is going to kick off what I'm assuming to be kind of into our third act with these final 2 episodes. But as I was mentioning to you before, Mark, I have no idea how they're going to wrap this up in 2 episodes with all the little bits they have, all the moving pieces they have going. Unless, again, it really is to sort of end this story with a big, and we're going to get to the next stuff soon. Whether it's intended by them or it's like, so start that that Twitter campaign, folks. If it ends with the hashtag, then we know.
The one thing I will say, and because the writers, showrunners, producers have said this themselves, so, and if anyone's really sensitive, maybe tune out. But I don't consider it a spoiler because they've said it themselves. It's that season 6, the show will have a definitive ending to the Belter storyline, the Belter Mars Earth. The stuff that comes after will deal with something else. That there will be so the show will have a definitive ending.
Because the last episode's 2 hours long, right?
I was gonna say.
Well, they said the last episode was a bit longer, but this is more like 65 minutes, but it's longer than the other episode.
Okay.
But see, at least you can trust that 65 minutes is probably about 30 seconds. That's it of credits, maybe.
Yeah.
Not like the lie that's over on Disney Plus that says something's 38 minutes and it's 30 minutes at best and some change if there's a post or mid-credit scene. So we're at least going to get 65 basically whole minutes, maybe a minute less if you count the skipping the recap.
Yeah, and as far as like the pacing for these last 2 seasons go, they are following the book. So season 5 did end where book 5 ended, and season 6 started where book 6 ended, and season 6 going to end where book 6 ended. And maybe it might feel a little, the pacing might feel a little off since season 5 had 10 episodes and season 6 will only have 6. But I don't think it's going to feel rushed. And showrunner, because a lot of stuff from book 6 they did actually implant in season 5 as well. It feels a better pace to me so far because I think season 5 did meander a bit too much. And Naomi sent like 4 episodes on that ship trying to get help or something like that. So I'm actually liking the pace better this season. I knowing where the books go, I think they can pull it off in 2 episodes. I think they can. This is something I also mentioned to Darrin before we went live, is I would have appreciated if they started the storyline in this episode, which they didn't, but I still feel like they will have enough time to pull it off in these 2 episodes.
Do you think that they're going to have to like resolve the conflict with about how much time do you think they'll have left in the last episode before it's over that they've done it? I would say they probably need about 15 to 20 minutes of post-conflict to...
No, I agree. Yeah, that's what I would assume too.
To show like this is where we're at. This is maybe where we're going.
I think I would even shorten it to 10 maybe, but I don't know. 15 might be better.
Yeah.
It depends on where they end up. I mean, again, it's not that I don't trust that they aren't going to get there in 2 episodes. I'm just, again, where they are now, I'm just like, wow, how seems to be so many things moving. But obviously you can do a couple of bits, and they do squeeze a lot into the episode. So now if we've got our, episode 1 rehash, resetting all of the chess pieces for our big final bit, then there's a lot you can do in 2+ hours of show. So, I think they can still do it. I'm just, again, I guess probably just because I want more of it. So I'm like, how could they do it? There's no way. They've got to be lying to us. There's an extra 3 episodes hiding in the back. No.
Yeah, and this is something I mentioned last week that they said the showrunners themselves said the main thing they cut when they had to shave it down to 6 episodes wasn't anything to do with the Marco or Naomi or Holden or drummer stuff. It was mostly that a side plot plan for Prax and Anna, and frankly, I'm happy for those to go. I'm not really sad that they cut those.
No. I think those were perfect as little video blobs. They did their job. You got a great joke knowledge between Amos and Prax there with the he'll get to it bit. And then we moved on. So that was awesome.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's all you need, really.
But I do think that the Prax scene is going to have a major impact, and it's just one of those little bits that just got thrown in there, kind of wedged in there, all like, and people will go, "Oh yeah, that's right. There was a scene where Prax gave them like the recipe for making food fast and with little amount of effort." And
That'll be in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll be like, "Hey guys, the first stuff is ready to be shipped out to the belt."
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go ahead and end this discussion here. I want to thank everyone who joined us today. We had Dina, Silverscale, Alex, Brandon, Dread Electric. And I think I'm forgetting someone else. But anyway, thanks everyone who joined in this chat. Thanks so much. It's great that you showed up. Love the activity in the chat. And of course, thank you very much for my special guests for showing up. Rob, thanks so much for filling in last minute. And Darrin, always great to have you. And everyone, of course, watching this in the archives, thanks so much for sticking through our wacky conversation. Anyway, let's start with Darrin. If you can let people know where they can find you and what you're up to.
Sure. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram right here at Darrin Jakes. I'm also over on D's Reviews here on YouTube. We are right in the middle of our Book of Boba Fett review. I've got Rob right below me here with me every week, as well as Don Willie, who is you will often see on this channel as well. So we're running through the whole season. We just finished up Hawkeye. And then we'll have whatever Marvel or Star Wars discussion happening after that as well. But just a few weeks of Book of Boba Fett. And then, of course, you can catch me for the next 2 weeks as we finish wrapping up The Expanse right here with Mark.
All right. Is there any word yet on what the next Marvel show is going to be?
I have to look. I just kept seeing like coming in 2022, but I don't know what the next listing is.
I would think it's probably She-Hulk.
Okay. Oh, God,
it could be Moon Knight, but I would think that Moon Knight might need a little extra polish.
Yeah.
A little more time in the oven.
Yeah.
So I would say either She-Hulk or Miss Marvel.
I can't wait for She-Hulk. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most. Tatiana Maslany is such an amazing actress.
She's amazing. Yeah, I'm really curious how they're going to pull that off. I'm excited.
Oh, anyway, Rob, if you can let people know where they can find you and what you're up to.
I'm like Don Draper in Mad Men. I kind of just go wherever I want these days. I just kind of drift in and out of things. It's just like, except for my real job that I actually show up for. Lately, you can find me on shows like this where we're talking as a group about things, whether I'm over on Darrin's channel or your channel. And, maybe I show up on mine. I don't know, over Smirking Reviews where we're just kind of going with the flow. If I have something to say, I'll put something out. But other than that, I do want to mention that I am super excited for the Expanse Telltale game that appears to be starring Kara G as drummer. I will be playing that on my Twitch channel. When that comes out, that is going to be an awesome game. Telltale makes great narrative games, not so much like like a Ratchet and Clank or whatever kind of game. This is you playing an episode or a few episodes of a great story. And if you like that kind of thing, definitely check it out. Don't be afraid of those things just because they're called video games. Sometimes these things are more than that, and I believe that this will be a very special thing once it comes out. So that's the only other thing I had to say.
Yeah, I'm not much of a gamer, and I've never played a Telltale game before, but I might make an exception for this one.
They're very easy to play.
So good. Yeah. And I wonder, where is it? I got it back here. I usually don't read. I haven't bought the comic in years, and I bought this Expanse Origins comic too that had written by the author's book that had the origin stories of most of the characters. It was really good too. So,
nice.
Anyway, My name is Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. You can find me here, of course, every week with where we're at. That guy. Talking about The Expanse. I also do own reviews on The Expanse and cover other shows like I think Discovery's gone on break, so I'm going to cover Star Trek Prodigy, and then of all other like old Star Trek reviews and stuff like that, and watching season 5 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars at the moment, which I hear is one of the best seasons, so looking forward to watching that and reviewing that as well, and all sorts of other stuff I get up to on my channel, and of course popping over to these guys' channels as well, or have them pop up here. You never know. Anyway, thanks so much for joining, everyone. So be sure to hit that like button, whatnot, and we will see you all next time. For the belt!